Hello, FewCandy here and welcome back to Solitude. And last time we were continuing our downtown build, mixing in some colonial influences with some of the more modern architecture to give a kind of sense of history to Solitude. Now, having spent a lot of time looking at Wellington in New Zealand on Google Earth, I just cannot resist not going right ahead and building out our port in Solitude, so that's what we're going to be doing today. And then we'll come back and continue the remaining parts of the downtown grid another time. Yeah, just looking at this port gets me excited. It feels like so long since we've done Oridan's port, so I'm super excited to get onto this. We've got these little kind of extra docking bits here with what looks like tugboats against it. And the biggest thing that I'm noticing in all of this is we've got very small little kind of office administration, almost like mobile home type buildings dotted in amongst it. And we've got an absolute ton of decal markings. So we're going to be doing those absolutely everywhere. I love it. And we've got bits where it is keyed dock, and then we've got other sections here, like where it is the little kind of rock natural dock boundary, like what we've used around the downtown as well. And then, of course, we've got a big container yard here, not fully fleshed out though, you know, it's not completely filled with containers, so that's the kind of thing that we want to go for. Lots of markings on the ground, of course, so we'll be doing an absolute ton of decals everywhere in this build. We've got these little crane assets as well, we can definitely bring those in. There's slightly more like sort of rugged areas like this where actually there's kind of piles of material. It looks like they're working or building on something, which I quite like. A little crane there. And you come round to the main dock, which is this side. And again, like pretty low key, really. Like it's just two cranes here and this huge log yard, which I absolutely love the idea of. I think we can do something similar in Solitude. I'm imagining New Zealand obviously has a big log trade. I think Solitude would too, so we'll be doing that. And then there's things like this tree line road as well. This wraps all the way around the port and around the stadium here. The stadium won't be going in this side, just to add. It will be going in the other side of Solitude, so that'll be a little bit different. But we can definitely bring in our collector alongside like this, with this little frontage road that runs all the way along down the port here. And then that collector obviously connects into the highway up this side, with the hills with houses in behind it, which is exactly like Solitude. So that's why I'm pretty excited to do our own kind of recreation of this in Solitude today. So yeah, as mentioned previously, the port is going to be going in this area here, and we've got a fair bit of terraforming to do in order to get there, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to flood our main downtown. This could be pretty interesting, but we're going to give it a go and see. Now, I just want to kind of check the height of it because I feel like this is maybe a little bit too high what we have here. So I am going to bring it down slightly for our port area. I'm thinking something more like that would be a good height for it. And now it's really difficult to tell because the water's going absolutely nuts. So let's just let it settle and then we can see in a second if that's a good height for us to work with. So I think this is the height that we will settle on here, which I think is high enough for cargo ships to not look ridiculous up against, and also low enough that smaller boats won't look too ridiculous as well. And of course, yes, everything is underwater in the downtown right now, but that will settle down. So let's go ahead and terraform out where our port is going to go. And it is going to stick quite far into this bay ultimately. So we're going to do that. But one thing I do want to do before I start is actually just check where the map grid is. Because to make this easier to build, it will be easier if we stick to the actual grid of the map. So when you have the precision engineering mod and you place down a road like this, if you hold control, it gives you the angle against the grid of the map. So I know that this is perfectly aligned to the map grid, this kind of angle here. So that's ultimately the angle. There we go, where it says 0 on it. You can see 5, 10, 15 degrees, etc. So this is the angle that I want my port to come out at. I'd like it to come out a little bit further than this. So let's just draw it out to... there is not too bad. We probably could actually go a little bit further this way as well. So let's draw this out and we'll continue on the terraforming round here. And yeah, extensive flooding will happen. And you'll see as well, now that we kind of know where the map grid is as well, the landscaping actually goes in quite a bit smoother like this. So it's kind of handy to know where that is and to align things to it where possible if it fits your design. And I just want to check the size of it because I know I'm actually going to put in the harbour ferry hub down this side and we'll bring the shipping path round to it so that it will fit. But yes, we have got just about enough room for that, so I'm not too concerned there. I think what we will do though, because I'd like to do a little bit more kind of design work on this side, is just trim this back a little bit. We'll just give ourselves a little bit more room there, and we're actually going to extend this on even further this way to allow ourselves a bit more room to play with. Once you've got your space as well, if you make it slightly bigger than what you want, you can actually level out the ground. You'll see there's kind of slight lips which increase in the contour lines around the edges. If you level off the ground underneath and just push it back very gently, those will start to disappear and you'll get this super, super flat piece of land in which to build your harbour. So really, really useful little technique that. So we'll let the water settle down, but that's kind of our main harbour area, and we're going to bring out little kind of extra docking areas around it to add points of interest. But that's the main section for it. So the first thing that I do want to do is place our main port assets. So I'm going to start with the harbour ferry hub. Now, I'm yet to use this in a city since it became part of the game, so I'm actually really excited to get this in. And I want to put it round this side ultimately, so we've got our cruise ships coming in kind of closer to the downtown, and we can create a bit of a hub down that end of the harbour. Now, of course, we need some more shipping lanes, so let's go ahead and grab our wonderful mod, and we'll increase the shipping path down into here. So let's actually run fairly close to the harbour, but not too close. And then hopefully if we bring it down like this, we'll be able to, yes, connect in our hub down here. Now, I want this quite nicely aligned to our flat area, and thankfully, because everything is nice and flat, it has gone in nice and easy. Now, I'm just looking at the height of it. I think it's going to be okay for cruise ships. I'm actually going to connect it in, and we're going to wait for a passenger cruise ship to come and make sure it's the right height, because I would hate to continue our port build at completely the wrong height that looks a bit silly and inappropriate. So let's see what happens. Okay, so here we go. We've got our first cruise ship coming in, and it's bringing in 100 passengers out of 100. And I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, thank God Cities Skylines 2 ships are far more realistic. 2,800 people on board a cruise ship. Oh, autosave. So let's just watch it wobble its way into the harbour. And do you know what? I've never actually noticed that they're called Marina 2 on the back. A nice little touch. Okay, so here we go. Let's have a little look at this height here as it comes in, and see where the kind of passenger docking things actually hit the ship. Well, they don't. They don't anyway, because the ship's near it. It's not too bad. That's not too bad at all, actually. The main deck level was almost level with the port. Let's also connect in our ferry line here. And I think what would be nice is to have it not overlapping with the cruise ships, even though the cruise ships are going to literally drive right over them. Let's bring it up just a little bit further away from the harbour here, like this. We'll bring it round the edge of our island and in to meet our ferry line that we have in existence up at the actual yet to be named luxury condo section over here next to Solitude Water Park. We'll connect that in there, and then let's go ahead and extend the line out as well. So we'll just drag this stop right down into the downtown like that, and then we'll come back and make sure that we're adding in stops in either direction here like that. So we have got ferries and cruise ships now coming in. Let's just have another little look at the height. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. With the main deck lining up to the edge of the port dock, I think that that's probably quite appropriate. So yeah, happy with that. It's going to look very packed when the ferries are in here as well. So that's going to be interesting to see. But we'll see how it goes. So coming onto the cargo docks. Now, I kind of think what we're going to do is mix in the main dock with some smaller assets that I have got off the workshop. So let's go ahead and place in, I'm kind of thinking, where is the nicest position for this crane to be? Do we want it like in front of the downtown very prominently like that? So when you're looking in from this direction, you can see those cranes in front of it, which I think probably would be quite nice. I think I will actually just go for one over this side. And then, yeah, we're going to add in this asset, which is the small cargo dock, which is a little bit more kind of low-key. A little bit of a smaller building on this compared to the other main cargo dock, but we're going to use both of these. And what I do want to do is make sure that they are aligned up to the edge of our water. Like, I don't really want the quays and the docks floating out into the main water here. So I think we're going to pull those back, and then this is what we're going to align our dock edge up to ultimately. Now I'm just kind of wondering if we actually take this smaller dock and add a few little props to it. So, I mean, this is essentially our vanilla crane here. If we were to add this to our smaller dock, does it look a little bit more tasteful than having that giant building there that we have in front of this one? And yeah, I kind of do prefer that, in all honesty. So I think what we might do in this case is actually remove this one. We're going to have 2 of the smaller docks in. We'll place that in further down. We'll join this all up with key edging and poppable concrete, etc., to make sure that it all looks consistent and like one dock as opposed to kind of 2 separate buildings as it is at the moment. So that's, yeah, just make sure that those are lined up nicely. And then we can take like things like the crane and potentially put it in the middle of them. Maybe have a couple in there as well. So again, I'm just going to check that these are working and the height is appropriate by just very, very wrongly connecting it into our road there. We'll wait for some cargo ships to come and see what that looks like. So yeah, here we go. We've got our first cargo ship coming in here, and it's it's going to make some interesting manoeuvres in order to get there, crashing into our crane, in fact. But you've got to love Cities Skylines for what it is. And yeah, that's a good height. I'm happy with that. Almost perfect, actually, to the level of the main deck there. So yeah, we can continue with this height. So before I go on too much further, I am going to go round and put in our dock walls. And I'm going to be using pieces, these dock edge pieces and docks kind of set from Runix for that. So they are all just props, which means kind of individually placing them, which is going to take a little while. Oh yeah, there we go. We've got our harbour walls in and they look gorgeous with these little prop tyres and the ladders going down in. We've also got the water height markers. I absolutely love these as key walls for our harbour. And I did decide to break it actually here and do a bit more of a natural area like we saw on Google Earth in Wellington. I kind of want that sort of flowy road effect to it ultimately, and I kind of like breaking it up as well. I think it makes it a slightly more interesting shape. So the next thing I do want to do is put in our networks. So I'm going to press pause for this. You would have seen I've actually brought in our intercity rail line. So this actually flows from the cargo rail terminal over this side, and this is, yeah, coming essentially alongside some of our networks. I think this will be pretty cool for this little high-speed road with the rail next to it, up and over, and then it's going to head into our port. So we can have a cargo depot in here as well for rail, which is just going to help things to get around our city ultimately. So I'm going to break this tram track here because we're going to bring trams down into the main cruise terminal down here. So let's just start off with repositioning this collector road so that we've got it in nicely. So I'm going to grab it here and we'll actually just delete out these roads for a second. And then yeah, using this road, we're going to reposition it. So I'd quite like this to actually go underneath the rail at this point. So we're going to worry about kind of heights and things like that afterwards. So we'll grab this for now and we'll send this in like this. And we're going to curve it round the end of the port this way. Oh yeah, trees. We'll deal with that in a second. And I'm just noticing actually I'm using the wrong road, not the road that I wanted for this. I would quite like this road, which is kind of similar to the one that we saw in Wellington with the trees on the outside of it. I quite like the effect of that. So yeah, we'll go for this one. And of course, we'll change the trees in just a second. And yeah, we're going to come underneath our sort of highway road here. Let's just have a little look at how much space we've got because this all needs sorting out. I do generally find with these networks, it's much easier to just put them in and then sort out the heights with Move It and Anarchy if you're playing with mods, of course, afterwards. So we'll go like that. And then what we are going to do is use our highway slip roads here and we're going to create a bit of just a basic junction ultimately. I think it would probably be quite nice to actually have a roundabout at this point as well. So I'm going to try and get all of these slip roads coming off the roundabout. Again, we'll worry about heights and neatening this all up in just a second. Now this road, I would quite like it to continue on. So I think what we will do, because it will disappear ultimately when we put our roundabout in, is just upgrade this segment. And then we're going to bring it up onto the hillside over here. That's going to be, actually it's not too steep. Yeah, it's not too bad. Then we can go into Roundabout Builder and let's get ourselves a nice 3-lane road for this because I think it will be quite busy. We'll put in a roundabout. I think it can be a bit smaller than this. So after much finagling, we did go roundabout in here and it's a little bit off. It's like a bit of an oval about, but it works. And actually a lot of the ramps are pretty smooth. Like they're not too steep. They kind of make sense. So we need to come in with a lot of intersection marking tools to tidy this up and make it feel a bit more realistic, but it's in and it kind of works. So coming back to the rail, so yeah, I do want it to cross over this road, but I don't want it to go too high because it needs to come down basically into our port pretty quickly. So I'm actually just going to drop this road a little bit. We'll go ahead and grab our rail line. Let's force it into a bridge and we're just going to cross it over this road and then bring it back down to ground level around here for the moment. And then we can check the height of this and make sure that this road is going underneath it appropriately. So I do want to bring down the nodes a little bit either side so it doesn't feel quite so kind of jarring, that sudden slope down. So that's not too bad at all. We've probably actually got more than enough clearance there, but I'll take that. So coming on firstly to the cargo rail yard, and I do want to use the same one that we used in our other rail yard because it actually matches nicely the dock that we're using here. And I did decide actually to trim it down to one dock. I thought that's plenty for here. We can put in tons of decoration and cranes along the edge anyway, so I think it's going to work well. So let's actually spin this round and we'll kind of try and line it up to where that rail line is coming in there. So around about there. Let's see how that does when we put this in. So let's force to ground again and we'll just connect that up. Now I want to make sure we haven't got catenaries on for this because then what I would like to do is use the parallel road function in Network Multi-Tool. And we're going to add in some additional rail tracks this side. So let's actually just put in another one while we're at it. That's overlapping a little bit. I think there looks good. Yeah, so we've just got this little bit of rail activity happening over this side. We do still, interestingly, have the catenaries on those. So let's get off network multi-tool. Make sure we're on none. And then, yeah, if we upgrade those, that will work nicely. So let's actually unlock this segment. Let's upgrade it. Make sure we got no catenaries on. Yeah, let's upgrade it to that. Yeah, there we go. And then we can come back into here and click lock. So that's nicely locked in place. Then we've got a bit of a rail yard here. And what I do want to do with this is I want the whole port to be pretty concretey. So I'm going to definitely surface paint over this so that it's kind of concrete underneath the wooden runners. And I am wondering if I kind of want to cover up the wooden runners, honestly, for this. So I was thinking if we used a little bit of proppable pavement here, let's make sure we've got anarchy turned on. I just put that down somewhere and let's grab that. We have got prop snapping on. Let's raise this up a little bit. If we then place it over the rail, I'm very curious to see if we can cover up those wooden markers easily enough without it looking too jarring. And it seems like we can. So that is marvellous. So I'm actually going to just go ahead and place this in now that while we've got that. And if we turn off follow terrain as well, when we copy this, it's going to match the exact height that we've just put it in. So we can just copy this all the way down our little rail yard here and get rid of all of those wooden tracks. Very happy with that. Very happy with that indeed. So let's also connect this in. Obviously it's dummy, but it will make sense if it is actually connected in. Not with the one way, we want the two way. Let's go ahead and also add a connection in for this one, just so that that is nicely in there. We come back to here now. Let's copy our ploppable asphalt again. Can we lift this up a little bit more? So yeah, because we're on a slight slope here, it is actually making it so that the asphalt doesn't work. So let's just select nodes for a second. Let's make sure that these are all the same height. Yeah, and then the asphalt does work, as you can see there. We can continue this on a little bit. I'm thinking we'll probably actually upgrade this segment so that it is on the ground. That'll make it a little bit easier for us to detail with. So let's grab this, copy it. We'll just keep going over these rail tracks as far as we can go. So yeah, we can't go really beyond there. I've got a bit of a hump in here now, actually, which might be a bit of a problem. But I'll sort that out in the detailing a little bit later. But yeah, we do just get these rail lines now on our concrete, which is awesome. Okay, so let's talk about tram network before we get too far. Now, what I do want is I want this road connected up, obviously, into this road here. So I think we'll just come out at a nice smooth angle, nothing too jarring. And we don't want that road, we want this road. Like that. Let's also just grab our tram road and make sure this is upgraded all the way into that junction. What might be nice actually is to follow this tram road in. I'm thinking actually we'll just do the one with the dedicated tram road without the bikes. I think having bikes coming down here as well is going to be a little bit too much. And again, we'll come into here, we'll unlock this segment and let's upgrade it to the one with the tram roads like that. And then what I would like is a bit of a tram turnaround down here. So let's make this one way because it doesn't need to be two. And we're going to create quite a large tram stop like this. I know that's sharp corners. What we will do is just bend these out a little bit. In fact, actually for this one, we can just snap it straight into that other node. Yeah, so it's got a little bit of a slightly less severe curve to go around. I think we'll move it in just a tiny bit closer like this as well. And then, of course, before I forget, I do want to upgrade this road back into this one. In fact, I might actually just go for the concrete segment at the end here because then it can kind of go into the port, essentially, and disappear into the concrete. This looks a little bit crazy right now. So let's grab this node if we can. Okay, yeah, that's a bit better. That's a bit better. So we can do some nice IMTM stuff on this, I think, to bring this a little bit more to life. We got an extra node in there, we do. Let's get rid of that with network multi-tool. It's not needed there. And then we can come back actually and lock these segments into place just so that that is happy. Let's press play and make sure still all good there. Which would appear to be. This one has kind of stopped in its tracks, but we've got so many cruise ships coming in. Gonna have to find a way to control that ultimately. Now for the port, I do want to try something different with the road network because when we go and look at Wellington Port, just taking that as an example, all the concrete kind of blends into each other and it's not like super obvious where all of the roads are. So what I am going to do is essentially create a one-way network. So we're actually going to use the one-way pavement roads. And I think to start off with, we can probably have a different road. So I'll just put in a small segment like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have multiples of these right next to each other. So again, I'm going to come into network multi-tool. We're going to use parallel roads. Go from here to there. Let's tab it to the other side, I think, actually. I'll press enter on that. So that it is all super nice and close. I do actually want to get rid of the lights on this. So let's go ahead and let's make sure that we have got none selected here. And let's get rid of those. And yeah, because I want four-way, I am actually going to turn this one round. So this one is going to run same direction as the other road here. And this is essentially going to sweep round our cargo port. And again, let's just make sure we've got all of those lights off, which we do. And what we're going to do is actually use road markings, like decals, to mark out the road segments on it, because I think it will make it look a lot more realistic once it's blended in with all of the concrete texture. And all of the decals, of course, to rough it up and give different colours to each part of the concrete as well. I think it's going to look super cool. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get onto this. Let's just go back to this little segment here, because I think what it would be nice to do is actually have... Do we have a big four-way, one-way road? We do have the small one. So I think, yeah, let's incorporate this as like the main entrance to the port. We'll go up to kind of halfway between those two roads. And then what we do want to do is have a node which joins them all in. So we'll just put those in like that for the moment. And then we're going to use node controller to sort this out. So the blue node, we're going to shift that over this way. Yeah, so that's nice and straight coming out there. And then the red node, similarly, not turn. We're going to shift it out the other way again, so that it's nice and straight coming out there. So that this will then carry on. We're going to have to do a bit of texture work to cover up some of that like slight jankiness here. In fact, can we actually, yeah, if we just draw that back a bit, then that does help. And then I think what I'm going to do is use the toll booth sub building here to kind of mark this out, and we can do some kind of decoration around it as well. So if we turn off sub buildings, we have of course got these little booths, so we can put these in as security checkpoints. It's basically our way of making a toll booth without actually having a toll booth here, which I quite like. And I don't know if this is in the right position, so we're gonna have to check like the lane markings for it, which we can do in TMPE. So if we draw this in, yeah, we can see where they are going. And they are a little bit split up. So yeah, I think with our props here, so let's go into buildings and props. Let's get rid of nodes. I'll highlight all of these. We're just going to have to move this back a little bit so that it's not so jarring when it comes to the lanes. So this could be pretty difficult to fix, I won't lie. I'll do my best to kind of do a little bit of a manipulation to see if we can get that in nicely in the detailing, but you get the point there. And we'll put a shelter over it as well, and that will kind of mark the security checkpoint coming into this area. And of course, I do want to add access to this cargo station, so we're going to come off here with another road, and this will connect on to there. And then just very simply, I think actually what we will do is bring this one back round so that they're not all joining on together. So we can kind of bring this one round the end here and then straight on up this way. So let's actually turn off snapping so I can get that a little bit more straight with the edges of our port there. Yeah, something more like that. And then with these, we are again going to just bend these round essentially and join them up into our main harbour. Now I kind of do want them like pretty sort of wishy-washy like this, because I don't want everything kind of perfect and straight looking. I think when I looked at Wellington as well, there's lots and lots of twists and bends in a lot of these roads. So I think this makes quite a lot of sense actually. I'm going to come up to here with the parallel road tool on this one. Let's press enter there. Of course we want to turn this around, so let's come off network multi-tool. Again, it's going in the same direction. And then this one, we're going to bend it out a little bit sooner again. So we've got a bit of a split in here. I'm going to bring this one out as parallel as we can get it to this road. It doesn't matter if it's not 100% perfect. But yeah, we're going to join this one up into here. You can use move it to tidy some of these up afterwards as well. So I'll kind of do that in the detailing time lapse. And then this one can join into it like that. And then we do just want to bring these back together ultimately at the end. Let's bring that one up straight again, and then we can kind of join it in like that. And this one will bring out a slightly sharper curve, and then bring it in like this. Again, I'll do a bit of node controller on that to sort that all out. But I'm thinking actually up here, what I would like is then a road that crosses this one and comes down into this little port area that's going to be here. I think what would be good here as well is to just bring in a crossroad so that people aren't having to divert past the actual harbour wall if they want to. Because out here as well, we are going to have more of this, and we're going to bring a road in kind of very wonky around here. Again, looking at Wellington, this is very much how it was, like this. And then we can put some like piles of stuff around it ultimately. There's tons of like piles of sort of concrete or sand or something like that in the port in Wellington. So I thought this would be a nice touch to incorporate this into our Solitude harbour as well. So yeah, it looks a bit mad like this, but I think once we get all of the decals in and those roads make sense and we've got all the props in around it, it's going to look super cool. So yeah, with that, I think I am just going to come in now and finish it off with an absolute ton of detailing. So everyone always asks me how long the builds take, and the detailing on this took 5.5 hours, most of which was spent making the roads look like they do now. But I'm actually really pleased with the effect of it. Like, it is nice not to have that pavement lip and to kind of go straight out onto the yard. I really had a bit of a grand idea with this, where I really wanted it to look like Wellington Port that I saw on Google Earth, with the very patchy concrete. So mixing in surface painter, obviously, with those ploppable asphalt pieces, and then using lots of decals around the edge to kind of blend it in and cover it up with the dirt decals and the stain decals. I kind of think it's worked nicely. Like, there's little places where maybe it looks a little bit off, but I feel like it's not too unrealistic to making it look like the roads have been patched and repaved in certain places. So it's kind of different wears on the tarmac, ultimately, that's happened here. But yeah, overall, really pleased with it. It was an absolute pain to get in. And obviously you will have seen in the time lapse, I started this section by placing in actual line decals and yeah, the hatch marking decals over the road, because I didn't think that when I placed ploppable asphalt onto these pavement roads that the IMT would show through. I then quickly realised that actually it does. So obviously it was vastly quicker when I realised I could just do IMT for the road markings and make it look exactly how I wanted, rather than doing all of those line decals, because to try and get these corners in would have been an absolute nightmare, honestly. So yes, IMT, bit of ploppable asphalt over the top, a few little decals around the edge, marvellous. So yeah, if we go for a little tour around while the cruise ships just crash into themselves over this side, I did add in a multi-storey car park over here with a little pedestrian bridge access across the main road here. I wanted to try and avoid too many pedestrians crossing here, because I figured it would probably be quite heavy on traffic at some point, at least when the city grows. Yeah, people do seem to be using the bridge, even if they're just crossing through the railings there very casually. But yeah, lots of people coming in from here, from the cruise terminal. Used a bit of IMT to kind of make sure that people weren't parking right outside the terminal. A little bit to mark the tram line here, and just added in a couple of like toilet booths, a little cafe over here as well for people. Another toilet down this end, and a bit of shelter to obviously shelter them from the Solitude sun, even though the shade doesn't seem to actually hit, at this time of day at least, where they're standing. So that's a bit interesting. And I think this probably does need a bit of tweaking, because I realised this bend is far too sharp for trams realistically. So I may tweak this at some point, but that's kind of, it's gone in pretty nicely. And then obviously with our port edge that we saw around the outside, I've just come in and added a few more decorations. So I've added in lots of these little, I don't know what the technical term is for them, but where they tie up ships to. Those little points. A few little harbour lights that you can see in here as well as we come around the edge. Obviously these dirt decals really help to kind of rough it up and make it feel used. And absolutely love this giant crane here. I did think to myself afterwards, actually, it would have been good to add in runners for it. So I may adjust that off camera as well, just to show where that would actually go. But yeah, I really like the look of that, particularly in front of the skyline there. Yeah, it's pretty cool indeed. Got a few little props around it. Obviously I wanted to make sure people weren't parking in front of this massive crane, seeing as the road goes right in front of it. I've also got a little security booth over here as well. Big car park, actually, I failed to mention around this side, that needs a little bit of touching up on the surface painter. I'll go around and do that. So in terms of the cargo bits, I slipped in these little cargo markings wherever I could. Looking again at Wellington, they were literally everywhere, even if they weren't being used all of the time. So that's what we have done here. I did use quite large areas of these actual functional warehouses, which I think are from Avanya, but they act like warehouses. So you can see the amount of containers in them actually stocking up and going down when they're not so used. So that's kind of cool. We've got this one's a bit busier than the middle one, for example, and the trucks do come and go from them, which is a really nice aesthetic as well. Then we've got other areas where it is just the decal markings, and I've placed in a few props here and there. Left bits empty, like I said. I wanted to have that kind of very open, sparse concrete look in a lot of this. And then we've also got various areas where we've got machinery lying around, the hatch markings on it as well. Like, I love how this little building turned out. The hatch markings, a few little boxes in front, a couple of little cranes. Nice little car park out the back with a little bit of greenery around it as well, which was nice to bring into the port around here. A couple of no parking signs on the entrance to that car park too. Oh, and then we come on to this area, which I don't know if it's a building site or if it is just kind of storage for sand and concrete and the such like, but yeah, again, really pleased with how this has turned out. I just love prop detailing. I find it very satisfying when you can kind of bring an area together like this. And it makes it feel a bit more real and used. And then coming up to the main cargo harbour, so yeah, I added in these 2 cranes. They were prop cranes. I blew them up a little bit using prop anarchy and using move it to resize them. Same goes for this crane as well, actually. I recoloured this because I decided to also use it over the train yards, which I thought was a nice effect over here. So just a few little prop trains and obviously the loading dock coming into the main train yard here. With the crane over it, I thought was quite a nice touch. But it's quite dominant and I wanted to make them look different, so I changed the colour of this one slightly to make it feel a little bit older and a bit more used there. And of course an absolute ton more of the warehouses than just prop containers over here. And of course the log yard as well, which I really like how it's come out. It's nowhere near as big as the one in Wellington, but we are limited on space. But very, very pleased with this, with the hatch markings in front of it, all of the logs, a few little props to signify our little workers' hut over here with a bit of machinery and boxes and trash lying around. I think brings it all together. And then I actually do also really like this bit of greenery behind it as well. I think that adds a nice touch into the port and again brings in that kind of Solitude vibe, ties the whole city together ultimately. And then I did put in a few buildings. So I've got like this big office tower here, which I thought could be like a kind of port headquarters, and then maybe it's the Port Authority building over here. A bit of car parking around it and these little planters out the front right by the security entrance gates, which actually have worked out pretty nicely. The cars get a little bit close on some of the lanes, but actually it's not too bad. Like we can watch this lorry coming in now, so like a big lorry. And yeah, we just about clipped the shelter, but it's not too bad. I think I can live with that. Actually, that one was alright. That one was alright. We've also got the same thing over here as well, although I did actually, because of the way the lanes were managing, I didn't put the toll booth in, so I've just done these security gates for the exit over here, which works pretty nicely actually, and the cars do seem to avoid it in general. And again, just building little space with these little warehouse worker yards, extra props and trash and lovely stuff like that. I did also use a bit of IMT to write port on here, to make sure that trucks that were wanting to go to the port use the correct lanes to go all the way around the outside to get to the main cargo port there. So yeah, you can kind of see from like top down view, I feel like it does look pretty realistic with the patchy concrete. It looks very messy. I don't know if I went maybe a little bit OTT on it. You can let me know in the comments below, but I had fun doing it, and I think that's the main thing really, isn't it? Now I have also left this little section only because this took me so long and I wanted to get you a video out, so we'll come back and do a bit of an extra port extension down here with some fishing in it. I'll just place that in as a placeholder for the moment. We'll come back and tidy that up. But yeah, that's our port. It's finally in. So for today, that is going to be it. If you have enjoyed the episode, please do drop me a like, a comment and a share. It all greatly helps. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for more Cities Skylines, Cities Skylines 2 and also Planet Zoo content. But that's all from me for today, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye!